Hi, welcome to another episode of the Paige Doodle Club. I'm Mike Paige, and today we are going to draw a tiki in the jungle. So grab a pen or a pencil and some paper, and let's get right into it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The important thing is that you make your mark.
Park Street Books is proud to sponsor the Mike Paige Doodle Club. Find them locally at 504 Main Street, Medfield, Mass. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or visit parkstreetbooks.com. No matter where you are, that's parkstreetbooks.com.
Okay, to start our tiki, I'm going to start with some pencil. That way you can see the basics of it without having to commit your lines. So essentially for a tiki, we want a vertical rectangle. You can really play with the face, how you want your face to be, but you're going to want kind of a rectangular shape. Because it is cut from a log, it's going to be rounded at the bottom. It's going to be rounded at the top. I'm making it so that it's kind of your vantage point is kind of from the middle of it, so it's going to be rounded at the top and at the bottom. And you're not going to see like the full oval of the top or the bottom, if that makes sense. You're not viewing it from one end or the other. Now, as I'm making it, part of why I wanted to do the lines in pencil first, I'm not going to want one line down. I'm going to have it broken up a bit. So don't make a solid line all the way down. Then I'm going to make kind of the eyebrow area here. This is going to be a thicker band of wood, so this part wasn't carved quite as deep. I'm also going to be adding some color to this one because this will be a fun one to add a little bit of color to. And with tiki art, you want it to be kind of playful. So you can have a little bit of fun with this. If you want to change your expression from what I'm doing, go for it. There's no real rules on this. And I'm going to have one eyebrow higher than the other. And then for the eyes, they're going to be kind of squinted. Usually when I'm drawing, because I'm right-handed, usually I'll make the eye on the left first, because that way I can still see it when I go to make the next eye. However, sometimes I'm not thinking and I do that backwards. The fun thing with making tikis is there's a lot of shadow play that happens because of the way they're carved. So it's actually kind of really good practice for thinking about how light lands on an object. You get a lot of the same shadows that you would in a regular human face, but then sometimes you also end up with some really cool unusual shadows happening. So like all of this would be dark because this would be cut deeper into the wood, which would cast a very harsh shadow right here, especially if it's being lit kind of from a almost directly above. It would create a very dark shadow right there. Then for the nose, I'm going to go ahead and make the mark for the nose next. You can really play with the proportions here. If you want the nose to be gigantic and have a smaller area for the mouth, go for it. I'm going to have a very large smiling mouth, or a kind of gritting teeth mouth anyway. So I'm going to have my nose end about here. And it's just a slight bent U, or smushed U rather. And then 2 smushed rainbows on either side. And I'm going to have a bit of a line here. And a little bit of a line there. Now, if I was drawing a human portrait and not a tiki, I would not want these lines right here. One common mistake when people draw a face is to draw the lines on the sides of the nose. You and I know that there is kind of a line there, but really it's a light shadow usually, so if you draw a harsh line there, it will never read right if you're drawing an actual portrait. You're much better off if you lightly shade that area and kind of imply a line rather than actually make it. But when we're doing a tiki, you can get away with making harsh lines like that because a tiki is actually carved, so you can get very harsh lines like that. I'm also going to make some shadows underneath that upper eyelid. Kind of like that. And then we can make some lines coming down from the bottom of the eye. Tikis are one of those things that I've always really enjoyed the style and kind of the playfulness of tikis. They're kind of problematic because they come from Polynesia and Hawaii and the South Pacific, and they kind of blew up after World War II. A lot of guys came back from the Pacific, and they brought back the idea of tikis, and everybody really liked them. And then all of a sudden it got kind of whitewashed a bit. However, I've always really enjoyed tikis, whether they are legitimate Polynesian, South Pacific, or somebody's interpretation of a tiki. I think really it's kind of an appreciation of the style, and it's, I can't say that I have the same understanding of a tiki, but I can certainly appreciate the style and what goes into carving them. So I think as long as you approach it from an angle of appreciating the thing as something really neat, then you've got good intentions. Plus, if you really think about it, almost every great art has kind of stolen from something else. Everything has already been done. Everybody's stealing from somebody in some way or another. Next, we're going to make the lower lip as kind of a smushed rainbow shape again. Again, you can play with these shapes as much as you want, so if you see what I'm doing and want to put your own spin on it, please do. Again, just like with the tikis, that's most tiki stuff that's out there is somebody's interpretation of legitimate tiki stuff. So don't be afraid to play with the idea of something and try to make something your own out of it. we're going to kind of curve these teeth so they're not just perfectly straight. I'm going to switch to this other pen that hasn't been being held vertically for so long, or horizontally, I mean. This one, the ink is still flowing. Sorry for getting so serious there in this episode, talking about the cultural implications of Tiki, but I feel like it's important to acknowledge that, you know, we can appreciate another culture's art, but it is important to point out that, you know, part of the explosion of Tiki art in the 1940s and 50s was because soldiers were coming back from that area and they really liked it and they wanted to carry it on, but, you know, it kind of gets modified a bit. All right, so there is the lower lip here. Then you can make like harsh laugh lines if you want, and the crease coming out from the nostrils. I'm actually going to make lines coming up here because I need to get back to this area coming out from the eyes. And that's going to give me a spot to reconnect to over here. And I might sneak in a little bit of the upper lip. I'm going to add harsh shadows under the nose. All right, and then I mentioned that there would be some color because I thought that this would be a good one to add some color to. I'm going to grab a couple different greens. These are Crayola Super Tip markers. They're really good for this kind of thing. I'm just going to add some leaves coming out from the sides. And I think I'm going to make something that's kind of symmetrical, but not quite. And then I'm just going to make some tropical type leaves. And you'll notice that I'm not adding all of the detail on these leaves yet because I'm going to change color to a different green before I continue. The thing that I really like about these Crayola Super Tips is that you can blend them very well. You can also get Copic markers that are much more expensive. Oh, that's not quite the right green. All right, so I'm down to 2 greens. I'm using the kind of hunter green and a very bright leaf green. But the thing that I really like about these Crayola markers is you can blend them easily enough and they're not going to break the bank. Almost everybody's got some Crayola markers kicking around. Not everybody's got Copic markers. Copic markers are a much more expensive art marker. But to be honest, most things that you can do with a Copic marker, you can also do with a Crayola marker. And there's actually another secret that I like to do with these markers. Because they're washable, you can actually use these like a watercolor. Which is something that I've done a number of times. What I'll do is start my drawing like this, and then just barely wet a watercolor brush and go over it, and then these blended areas really blend together. And it looks like it's a watercolor painting, but you'll get much more vibrant colors than you would get if you were actually using watercolor. Most watercolor paints are not going to be super vibrant. But my little secret is if you use Crayola markers instead that are washable and vibrant, you're going to get a very vibrant watercolor. You can do a ton of stuff using just washable marker and a dash of water. That's something that I figured out when I was in probably like junior high. I did a drawing of a toy actually for a still life thing for an art class that I was doing. And as I was working on it, I realized, boy, if I could blend these even more. And then I went, wait a second, those are washable. So I tried adding a little bit of water, and it really worked wonders. And I've utilized that technique a number of times since then. So there's 2 leaves. I might try kind of a bright teal as well, make this really colorful. And this one is going to be kind of a wider palm frond. Again, this is going to be very stylized, so go ahead and have some fun with this. Make it however you'd like. I think what I might do is have one side of this leaf, this teal color, and the other side be the green. This was something I thought would be fun for kind of a summer episode. Go somewhere tropical. Make something fun. If you're somebody that likes to carve, you could also try carving a tiki if you want. I've carved a couple of them over the years. I really enjoy wood carving. It's something that I learned as a kid, and I've loved doing it ever since. I don't get to do it as often as I'd like, but anytime I get out the carving knives, it's always a good day. Those almost look like bat ears, so that's not ideal. Because of that, I'm going to make sure to add some more stuff happening in this area to kind of break that up. Because that's the sort of thing, once you identify that you've done something like that, it's like a race to fix it. This time I'm going to make sure to go left to right, and that way I'll be able to see the last marks that I made when I move over here, but more importantly, you'll be able to see what I just did. Again, these are just kind of stylized plants. This isn't a specific plant that I'm aware of. But we're just kind of playing with colors and style here. Again, this was the kind of doodle that I thought would lend itself really well to adding some color, trying something a little different, because it's it's summertime. Let's make something colorful. Usually on this program, I'm just doing black and white, simple drawings, but every now and then it's good to bust out the colors. Another nice thing with these markers is they come in various sized sets. So you can get a set This one only has 20 colors, but you can also get them, I forget, I think there's a 100 pack. I've got scores of these markers at home. I can't get enough of them. And it's also something, when they start to die, I do the same thing with Sharpie markers. When they start to die, I don't throw them away right away. Because if you have two of the same color pink, and you know which one is almost used up and which one is brand new, then you've got two more ways to blend your pink, which is always helpful. I'm going to add, nope, that purple doesn't work well with that green. I'm going to add some of this purple in here. Again, these markers blend really well together and they go over each other very well. It's good to test them out, kind of see which colors overlap really well. The nice thing with these markers is they usually put them in the pack in a way that blends pretty well. And if you just go light to dark, dark to light, I'll typically start with the darkest one. So in this case, I'd be moving from the dark purple to the lighter purple. This middle purple here is lighter than this pink. So you kind of do a test page to see what colors work well together, which ones don't. But typically they're kind of packaged in a way that already tells you which ones work together. They're usually pretty much in the order. Then the secret is to keep them in that order when you put them back. Most people don't do that. So I'm just adding a few more big palm frond kind of things. I'm really regretting that these two were symmetrical because all I see is bat ears now. That was my mistake. This is going to be almost like a sea anemone kind of plant. Another nice thing with these markers is that they have a very fine tip, but also if you play with the angle that you're pressing down at, if you kind of utilize the side, you can get a broad line, and then you rotate back up as you go to get a much finer line. So you can get a lot out of these markers, and it doesn't really take much time to get used to these because they're not too far off from using a pen, and they're not too far off from using a regular marker. I think we're going to switch back to this darker green. And we'll do one kind of sticking in from the edge over here. Maybe another one. And we're just kind of scribbling all of this in. And then I haven't colored the Tiki in yet. Let me see, I do have 2 browns in this pack. Crayola actually came out with a really awesome set last year. They came out with a multicultural set. They're broad-tipped markers, but it gives you a lot of skin tone colors. I actually wish I had brought those with me today because those would have been perfect for this. But it's fantastic. They came out with a whole bunch of different brown tones and peachish tones, and they're all available in one box. But it's great because you can finally get the right tone that you're looking for, which is nice that they finally made that happen. So right now I'm just going in with the dark brown on any areas that I want dark. So in this case, it's pretty much the areas that I did with pen are going to be the darker areas. We're going to put a big shadow under his lip to show that his lip really overhangs those teeth. And then because they're markers, obviously if you go over an area more and more, it's going to get progressively darker. So you can kind of play with how dark a spot is just by going over it more. You got to be careful though. If you go over one spot too much, you'll actually slowly work your way right through the paper. Okay, so we're going to start like that. I might make a couple little notches at the top too. That'll make it look more like wood. Give it a little bit of split in the grain. Then I'm switching to this lighter brown to color everything in. And these two colors blend very well together. And again, I'm just starting with the darker color and then going to the light. And I'm just going to scribble all this in really quick. This is definitely something that I would keep going with this one. This is the kind of stuff, if I'm sitting around bored and I start to doodle, it's a pretty good chance that at some point my paper is going to get a tiki on it. I actually just did a block print a couple weeks ago using a small piece of wood. I think I used a piece of maple that I had, and I made a little tiki and carved it out and then made a block print. Again, started off as just a doodle. I was watching some Formula One racing on a Sunday morning, started doodling, made a tiki, and then I said, this is going to be a block print. Because that's usually what happens. And then I'm just going to, some of these lines kind of got washed out because these colors blend so well. So you can come back in, fix up a couple of those spots that you might want a little bit darker, and you're good to go. All right, I hope you enjoyed following along as I made a tiki. I hope yours came out great. If you are proud of it and would like to share it on social media, don't forget to tag the Paige Doodle Club so that I can see how it came out. We can all share our work together. Thanks for watching. Tune in again next time for another episode of the Paige Doodle Club.
Park Street Books is proud to sponsor the Paige Doodle Club. Park Street Books is an independent children's book and toy store. With nothing electronic in the store, Park Street Books encourages kids to read, play, and unplug. Find them locally at 504 Main Street, Medfield, Mass. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or visit parkstreetbooks.com. No matter where you are, that's parkstreetbooks.com.